After the death of his parents, Bruce Wayne went on a lifelong journey of becoming the Batman. A story that was riddled with grief, sadness, and heartbreak that he transformed into his own insane adventure as the Caped Crusader. But during his adventures, Bruce met a man by the name of Ra's al Ghul who used something called a Lazarus Pit to resurrect himself countless times. So, that begs the question. Why hasn't Bruce used the Lazarus Pit to resurrect his parents? Hey guys, my name is DJ, and the Lazarus Pit is a fictional pool of liquid that has revived and resurrected many people throughout DC Comics. It's been used by the likes of Jason Todd, the Riddler, and, of course, Ra's al Ghul countless times. But two people who have weirdly not been resurrected in the Lazarus Pit are Martha and Thomas Wayne. That's right, the parents of Bruce Wayne that died that one faithful night in Gotham City has weirdly never been resurrected in the Lazarus Pit. Which, if you think about it, is kind of odd. After all, the death of Bruce's parents was this tremendously traumatic and emotional moment in Bruce Wayne's life. It's his biggest regret, and he has been haunted by that event throughout his life. Their death would help to define Bruce's journey into becoming Batman. So you'd think Bruce would want to rectify this tragedy, right? Then why didn't he resurrect them the moment he learned of the existence of the Lazarus Pit? Well, that's a bit of a loaded question, so let's look at the potential reasons one step at a time. The Lazarus Pit, as mentioned earlier, is essentially a large pool of liquid that can instantly heal injuries, cure the sick, and, as I've previously stated, revive the dead. Sounds great, right? Well, hold on a second. Before you go on and look for this elixir of life, you might want to know that there are a few side effects that come with using the Lazarus Pit. For one, it can make you go completely insane. It's said that once you go into the pit, you lose a piece of yourself mentally. For example, we see this with Ra's al Ghul himself with his weakened state in the Arkham games after being in the pit so many times. But of course, it's obvious that he would feel this kind of decay. After all, he's used the pit more than any other person that we know of. However, there are more occasions of the pit having interesting side effects on someone's mental well-being, even after being used only once. And I think one of the more interesting cases of someone's mental state completely shifting comes from the Joker when he was thrown into the Lazarus Pit. In Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, following a betrayal by his former associate Ra's al Ghul, the Joker was brought to the Lazarus Pit by Batman in order to save his crazy clown combatant from death. And for a brief moment, the Joker actually became, in a word, sane. Which, I get, is kinda weird. But I think it's actually an interesting example of the Lazarus Pit and its overall effect on someone's mental stability. If you want to show the Lazarus Pit's effect on someone's mental stability, then having the Joker turn into a completely sane person is an interesting way to go. For once, the Joker showed remorse and sadness for all the pain he has caused. You can see his sudden realization of what he's done. He says, quote, "I've been thinking, remembering, all I've done, all the people I've hurt, the dead. Sanity is such a burden." Joker, perhaps the craziest person in comic book history, starts to feel the weight of his own sanity with this remorse for those he's killed. And this is a perfect example of how mind-warping the Lazarus Pit can be. But, of course, this effect is only temporary. By the end of this very same comic, the Joker turns back into the insane enemy of Batman that we all know. So, perhaps Batman would be able to look past this temporary insanity if he was just that desperate to bring his parents back to life. Sure, watching them temporarily lose their minds might be very difficult to go through, but Batman has gone through a lot worse. So if that's not the reason, then maybe there's another. Maybe it's because they've already physically lost their minds as well. I know it's a bit of a gruesome segue, but when Batman first discovered the existence of the Lazarus Pit, you'd have to think that this was decades after his parents' deaths. When he met Ra's al Ghul, Bruce was probably somewhere in his 20s or 30s. By then, Bruce's parents were long since decomposed and would be nothing more than some bones left underground. Now I understand the Lazarus Pit is very powerful, but I don't think it's powerful enough to just recreate two people from their skeletons. The Lazarus Pit, to my knowledge, has only revived people who were still somewhat held together. It's mostly used to heal people who are still alive, like a wounded Ra's al Ghul. So it's been treated more like an advanced medkit than anything else. I mean, Jason Todd is kind of the only real example we have of someone who's been dead for a long period of time being brought back by the pit. And even then, he was brought back only about 6 months after being dead. Sure, he may have been a bit decomposed, but he was still somewhat held together. However, Thomas and Martha Wayne, well, aren't held together anymore. But if you want to go down that rabbit hole of hypotheticals, then you could just say that Bruce could time travel back and grab his parents' corpses when they are more held together to throw into the Lazarus Pit. If Bruce really wanted to do this, he probably could. Hypothetically, he could just ask the Flash for a favor and use him to go back in time. But now we're just getting to the point where this question completely changes. Because if Bruce was just going to do that, then why wouldn't he just go back in time and save his parents? And it's here as to why I think Batman just wouldn't resurrect his parents in the Lazarus Pit. Even if the pit didn't render its user insane, even if the pit could bring back his parents in this decomposed state, even if Bruce could somehow find a way to explain the sudden reemergence of his parents in Gotham City, there is still one thing stopping him from ultimately reviving his parents. It's that, morally, even Batman must know that this Lazarus Pit shouldn't be used at all. Batman values one thing above all else: life. Some might say it's his vengeance. Some might say it's his pursuit to rid Gotham of evil. But ultimately, Batman values life above everything. It's why Batman hates guns so much, because they are weapons designed to kill and nothing else. It's why Batman refuses to kill someone like the Joker, because no matter how terrible the Joker is, Batman simply can't allow anyone else to die. It's why he gets up every day, fighting against the horrible people in Gotham. It's because he had to witness the two most important people in his life die at such a young age. And through this horrible grief, Bruce has gone on to value life above all else. But even Batman knows that death is inevitably a part of life. You're born to die, as they say, and Batman understands this. So the idea of someone breaking this rule of life must infuriate him. It's why Batman never went out of his way to bring back Jason Todd after all. While his death may have been tragic and a huge blow to Batman, Bruce still understands that this death is crucial and must stay permanent. At the end of the day, the one thing that stops him from bringing back his parents is his moral compass. Bruce can't bring back his parents because he understands that nobody deserves this cheat code of life. We're all destined to die someday, and Batman understands that those final moments of our lives should be just that. No matter what, the moment you take your last breath, your time on Earth is over. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I know that was a very dark ending to this video, but I'd love to know what you guys have to say about this topic and the Lazarus Pit as a whole. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.